Cricket history tells us that World Cups are won through towering hundreds, hostile fast bowling, and moments that replay endlessly on highlight reels. That is how finals are meant to be remembered. But every once in a while, a final is decided in a way so strange that it takes years to understand what actually happened. The 1975 World Cup final was one such day because that match was not turned by a bat nor sealed by a bowler. It was changed by 3 throws, delivered by a 23-year-old who, at the time, was feared by absolutely no one. Long before Sir Vivian Isaac Alexander Richards became the most intimidating batsman cricket has ever known, before bowlers shortened their run-ups and captains ran out of ideas, he was simply a young man trying to establish himself in a powerful West Indies side. In 1975, Richards did not carry an aura. He did not command reverence. People didn't quite know what to make of him. He looked sharp, he was quick and agile, but greatness wasn't a word attached to him yet. And still, in the 1975 World Cup final, it wasn't bowlers who learned to fear Viv Richards. It was Australia's batsmen. The final began with Australia winning the toss at Lord's and choosing to field. West Indies was sent in, lost early wickets, and briefly looked vulnerable before Clive Lloyd took complete control. And what followed was a captain's innings of authority and composure. Lloyd's 100 dragged West Indies to 291 for 8, and at that time, that was a formidable total. Richards meanwhile struggled to get going. He scored just 5 runs from 11 balls, and if you were scanning the scorecard casually, you'd barely notice his contribution. Australia's chase began smoothly. The pitch was a little slow but reliable, and Alan Turner alongside captain Ian Chappell settled the innings with calm assurance. The score moved to 81 for 1 without alarm, while the West Indian bowlers began to show signs of frustration. Everything about the situation suggested that Australia were exactly where they wanted to be. The game felt under control, and then, slowly, the momentum began to shift. The first dismissal looked innocent enough. Ian Chappell dabbed the ball towards the leg side and hesitated for a split second, while Turner took off instantly. But from short mid-on, Viv Richards charged in, picked up the ball cleanly, and fired in the throw in one smooth motion. Before the crowd could even react, the stumps were broken and the finger went up. Feline reflexes, iron will, extraordinary athleticism, all in one moment. Australia barely had time to absorb what had happened before Richards struck again. Ian Chappell pushed the ball just left of mid-wicket and instinctively set off, only to realize Viv Richards was right there. The ball travelled no more than 3 or 4 yards, yet Richards swooped in, turned sharply, and unleashed a bullet-like throw. Richards had one stump to aim at, and once again, the archer found the bullseye. Greg Chappell was shot, and the best batsman in the world was walking back. What on earth had just happened? There was no replay, no slow-motion breakdown, because it had all unfolded far too quickly. Up in the commentary box, Richie Benaud delivered the line that captured it perfectly. The old rule of never run on a misfield still holds good. But Richards was far from finished. There was nothing reckless about Australia's third dismissal. Ian Chappell flicked the ball towards long on and ran hard. But Richards was already moving at full pace. He intercepted the ball and fired it back towards the bowler's end, where Clive Lloyd removed the bails. Chappell was gone once again, and one glance at his expression told the entire story. This wasn't slipping away anymore. It had completely collapsed. In a matter of minutes, Richards had shattered the backbone of Australia's batting order using nothing but speed, awareness, and accuracy. Later, Richards admitted that Australia's running between the wickets had been identified before the match. "We decided we might pick up a few of them that way," he said. The plan was simple: expect hesitation and be ready.
Those run-outs were, I suppose, excellent. I mean, of course, it helped the team a great deal because it happened at the right time when it did happen too. So it was brilliant.
Australia weren't careless. They were merely a fraction slow. And against Richards, that fraction was fatal. Doug Walters fell soon after, and Australia suddenly looked beaten. Still, cricket refused to end quietly. When Jeff Thomson and Dennis Lillee came together, Australia needed 58 runs from 7 overs, and for a brief moment, tension returned as the runs ticked down and the crowd sensed a twist. Fittingly, on the longest day of the year, the match stretched well past 8 p.m. and eventually, with 19 needed from 9 balls, Thomson was run out. The resistance had ended, and the West Indies were champions. Reflecting on the match, John Woodcock wrote in the Times that Australia's strong position showed what might have been had it not been for 3 fatal hesitations and the deadly arm of Vivian Richards. And he wasn't wrong. Turner and the Chappell brothers had been in control until Richards destroyed it. In those days, giving the Man of the Match award to a fielder would have been considered adventurous, and Clive Lloyd rightly received it for his magnificent 100. But within the West Indies camp, and among those who truly understood the game, the truth was obvious. Richards had won that final. His interventions did as much as Lloyd's innings to secure the match and delivered the first World Cup title. Though the 1975 tournament was only the beginning, it was already obvious that Viv Richards was different. His impact on that West Indies side was immediate and lasting, not just in runs or records, but in attitude, awareness, and control. He laid the foundation for a legacy built on dominance, pride, and unapologetic confidence that reshaped world cricket and gave the Caribbean its greatest sporting identity. Sir Vivian Richards would go on to become one of the most destructive batsmen the game has ever seen. A man who terrified bowlers for over a decade. But before the swagger, before the sixes, and before the legend was fully formed, he won a World Cup without a bat. So guys, that's it for today's video. If you want to see how Andy Roberts and Michael Holding made England grovel, click on the videos being displayed on your screen.